Yeah, there's not. He's not mellow.
Yeah, or Odelay.
Right.
So when you use this microphone, I suggest keep. I suggest so like I feel like when your first one there'd be times when you like would like be chilling.
Hold down.
It was like way down there. Like you want to pretty well.
Oh, okay.
So I've upgraded.
Well,
I got these phone guys.
because I'm loud sometimes.
It's good. So I'm using this.
Oh, that's
mixer.
right. You've talked about.
Yeah.
that.
See how it's got that red?
Yeah.
That's like saying like, hey, there's a compressor right now keeping you bottled, so it doesn't distort or any of that. So
I gotcha.
So you could basically deep throat this thing and it would just squash
I'm down there, man.
but it won't, you don't have to worry about cracking. But like,
gotcha.
Kevin came over Thursday,
Uh-huh.
and that was in the first part of the day. And then the second part of the evening, I went to Mike Stern's place.
Okay.
And
I haven't seen him in a long time.
did a little capture, and I brought my light, but I didn't set up the light. But the thing does pretty good in low light. This camera. But
So about how many of these you got going right now?
well, there's 3 of them on YouTube right now.
Okay.
So there's episode 1 is the pilot Killer Times Presents. I consider that number 1.
Okay.
And that was like 10 years ago.
Wow,
So
yeah,
then number
Jesus.
2 is Kevin Albin, 3 is you, and then 4 another Kevin Albin, and then I think I'm not gonna worry about chronological.
Sure.
I think it's like in my mind I was kind of like I probably would make number 5. Just like my mind wants to balance it out, where I was like, oh well, I want since we were supposed to meet up.
Oh, sure.
In my mind, this is that one. So it's like to me, this will be number 5, and then Kevin's will be 6, and then Stern's will be 7.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm like, I just want to collect these, man, like Pokemon, and just try to like keep on racking them up, and like
Gotta buy them all.
just like hopefully be able to keep the momentum with it. I'd like to get like one a week, and it's like, well, gosh, some weeks I've like stacked 2 or 3 of them. I haven't really done that many times for that to have happened much, but I mean, it felt like,
well, not bad to bank them though.
Well, I think it was like the first one and the second one, or second and third one technically. By the way, I numbered them. It was like you and Kevin, and like those happened, I think, in like the same weekend or something.
Yeah, I think it was. If my memory, it was like
they were back to back.
Sort of. So doing that again, I guess.
Yeah. So now it's like I'll get like all in like a short period of time, several of them, but I'll try to like cut them like with some space between them, but. Just trying not to have to deal with like editing a whole bunch, just minimal editing. Got to go to the bathroom. We'll just like,
gotcha.
And I can just cut that space out in editing. But like, I'm not trying to cut out dead air. I'm not worried about it. One thing I've noticed, like when I was previewing the one with Kevin from last Thursday, was like me, like, gosh, I can't stand hearing me say like, and
sure.
Like, and just watching it, I was just kind of like, I sound like an idiot. Like, just like, it's almost like the words I'm getting out sound like, oh, I've got things in my head, but then the like me executing the speech part is like, it'll just like be really, it's like, I remember in like maybe 5th grade, kids, like you'd have to do like by 5th grade, there's book reports, right?
Sure, yeah.
And like someone would be doing like a book report, and I'm sitting next to like my buddy, right? And like we're like snickering and laughing, and like this kid gets up and the kid says like or and they start saying and then you start.
And then they went into the closet. Then there's a lion and a witch. And like.
Once you hear and then it becomes like now every time they say it's like they're like ribbing you. It's like they're up there the kid's up there saying and then I'm sitting there being like, I'm dying from laughing, like I got my head buried, and I'm just like, every time they say it's like once you hear it. Yeah. Now every time you hear it, it's driving you crazy. It's like tickling you, and it's like when I'm watching, trying to preview these podcasts for just basic editing. I'm like, man, it's like I sound like I just like a hell of a burnout or something, or like just all the likes and ums. Now I'm like, I don't know how I can get better at that. Maybe just doing this more would improve
probably
it.
that's the answer. And then critiquing yourself to the point where like, well, I guess if I don't like it, I better just not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've applied simple lessons in, like, just from, like, tennis, where it's, like, very simple things. Like, yeah, if you don't like that result, you just don't do it that way.
Yeah, you gotta like you have to like apply yourself and then critique and then continue to apply yourself to make the like apply a change, you know? Like well, how can I reduce the amount of and like and I don't know. Like I'm not getting like inebriated during this or anything, so that probably that I would think that would be you know helpful for me, but I'm not inebriated, I'm still doing it, and you know like and
If you could make it like a I'm doing an right now.
it's tough, man.
I'm doing it again. But yeah, if you could make it, I was trying to say like into like another thought, like and then like into like a Beastie Boys style, like another thought.
I like when I was watching it, I couldn't stand how hard it was for me to like. I knew what I was about to say, and I'm just like, wow, it's like killing me to like wait for me to spit it out.
Well,
and I know I'm trying to get it out.
That is though unique to probably you too, because you do know what the thought in your own head was.
Yeah.
But nobody else knows what was coming.
I think maybe Kevin even said something too about like his voice and stuff, and I mentioned in the earlier stages
I
of this,
definitely hate
like hearing my
listening to
voice.
myself.
I'm like, oh man, my voice isn't cut out for this, and I really think there is something to do with like sometimes people just have like the just the right voice for this kind of medium.
Yeah.
Like it's like I think that like hip hop, like I feel like one of the biggest attractions for like what rappers
some voices, but you know, I don't know that I would do this for like ever, you know, like it's weird to hear like, you know, there have been like voice people that like they're sorry, I think I cut you off. I apologize.
I think about voice people. I think about like that one video on YouTube where it was like a homeless guy where he was like he had this like this perfect voice or something like and
that
was
was
just like
that
what's
was a
with
big
this
thing
guy?
Yeah. You get the golden voice or something like that.
Golden throat. You know, like they went to school for that. You know, I think he had like if you go like this dude was old school and like he had done that kind
like
of
vocal
work
training
and had vocal training, and it's like you know on that note then it gives me hope that like practice could make an impact with like speech and such. But
so it's this. Well, I'm gonna say it's this time of year at the time of this recording. But like. That's like the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, man. That special's really good because they got the Tony the Tiger guy to sing the songs, and then they got Boris Karloff to do the narration and the Grinch parts, and it just makes such a world of difference that those two guys are part of it. And then, well, not to mention the catchy songs, but those two being part of it, and then we for Halloween this past year. She ended up making me watch it a second time, but I didn't need to see it after the first time. We watched the Halloween is the Grinch Night. I don't know if you ever saw that special.
I don't know. Maybe I have.
I never saw it till this year.
I think I saw like a YouTube video that
It was on YouTube, but we watched it. It was like a 40-some minute special. It's weird. It's longer than the Christmas special, and it's just weird. And then like it just doesn't have some of the
same era of animation. Is it like the cartoon or is it
like
documentary?
It's the Dr. Seuss style animation.
Voices aren't the same.
I feel like I looked up and now I don't know what. I feel like this had to have been the 70s. Maybe it came out in the 60s, but yeah, it just isn't as good. And yeah, you're just like, yeah, you know, you got to hit it right with like, that home run was having the in the Christmas Grinch, just having those two voice guys in there.
Man, I don't know. Like I'm such a. I feel like I don't know if it's like Luddite or using waxing nostalgic or what the expression is, but I kind of feel like how often I'm just going like it wasn't even my era, but I just feel like you know things that came before us. Or even during our time, but like say for example the Grinch stuff and those voices, you know, like how like those shoes just can't be filled, you know, like I feel like growing up we heard a lot of James Earl Jones voice, and then it was what was the one dude,
the Bell Atlantic B2B. I'm not even doing a good James Earl Jones there, sorry.
There's what was the other guy that did a lot of narration that had like the deep,
oh well, you're probably thinking Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman. So that was another one, right, where it's like you heard these in like all different contexts, but like they're like staples.
Yeah, they got used.
And then it's like, nowadays it's like I don't know if I can think of contemporary narration
So
being like, oh man, there's that voice. I know that voice.
So you're touching on, it's not just that, it's a lot of things in entertainment. So like, again, and I chalk it up to like, look, maybe it is that like we're just of a certain generation and like what's going on now, we're not supposed to get whatever, but like there are definitely like in entertainment in general, there are no real stars. And I know you can like argue there are, but like I don't know how to describe it. Like, okay, so like really like Hollywood, they're just putting out a lot of like franchise shit. Like that's real, and like they have stars in them, but like you're not going for the star, and like the star's not doing star shit in the movie anymore, right? Like not any of the big movies. Like yeah, like think about like movies back in the day. Like some of them were just like, and some of them were like, this movie isn't that good, but I really like so and so in the movie, like but Michael Keaton's funny in this movie, or something like that. Like the movie's like doesn't hold up that well, whatever. But like you don't even have any of that now. Like there's a lot of that, and then like there's just there's no distinct personalities. Like everything's like, it's like everything's a fucking commercial. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like it's all branded, it's all thought out. Yeah, and then there's another thing too, like. Everybody's thinking about their brand and their image and like, it's all connected and like, and then God forbid, you don't want to say, you don't want to improv something and say the wrong thing or anything.
Yeah.
So everything's polished. My point is like, so you're not getting any organic shit. Like, not on the mainstream,
Quentin Tarantino, that name recently, I saw maybe a thumbnail on YouTube or read it somewhere or heard it somewhere, but something about like, him kind of claiming like we're in like a not a great time for cinema. Like it's not that great time.
I would agree with for the most part.
Like sort of like, and it feels like criticisms like that always kind of like you have to be like really skeptical of like what they're saying or they're just being a fuddy-duddy, but like you challenge it and you're just going like I can see that perspective.
Well, it comes down to what we talked about.
It's like Marvel movies.
How many movies the last 10 years really stick out, and you probably can count them.
It's like I believe that there's just like content is in one hand better than ever, but then in the other hand it's like it's content. It's not.
So it's
not the same as like what it used to be or something.
So yes. So I recently was having this thought. Well, two different thoughts based on what you said and then what I was gonna say. I guess I'll start with what I was gonna say. The content is a lot of times. Like, so I think I talked about like recently, like, what I like? Simple. It's a contained story. Like if I can just watch this thing, it all makes sense to itself. There's a lot of things I feel like that are just like, everyone's trying to overthink things and reinvent the wheel. And then like things reference things and like, well, and then of course, like with attention spans and people's things, like, the joke of like, people aren't even like texting each other words anymore. It's just a bunch of emojis back and forth and shit. So like, I do think that like fucks with things, and then like any content like is like, well, what is this?
It's like content. I feel like even like
and then the level of content changes. But
I was gonna say content. Like I think of content as not being the same as like the media that like growing up on like films and like TV shows and like radio, where like now it's like the word content is like a way to describe
the fact that we call
this.
it content.
Yeah, and that like to me, I'm like content is like I almost just feel like it's like the future internet. It's like the future of garbage. Like content is just something that is like not saying there isn't any value to things like this, but it's almost like this will just be like a plastic or like a glass Sprite bottle we find in a ditch from like 30 years ago, where just like it serves its purpose and its time and place, but like long run it's not as valuable as say like like wooden furniture that can be heirloomed, where like
that's a great way. Like the Martin Scorsese movies are gonna hold up.
They're cinema, they're
your YouTube series, like that had a shelf life that's now done.
Yeah, and like some of the like
God forbid, like, and see, like I know like the TikTok exists, that it's like I'm not even on that, but yeah, it's like I guess like there's a lot of that. It's just like this is quick little content. Real quick little comment.
Yeah, speaking of TikTok, that's like one that like I often see and think of, just like I haven't participated and don't plan on it, but like it's almost weird being in a demographic where you're like refusing to participate. You don't necessarily feel like you have to, and yet like it's already like going through things where, you know, it's like being criticized and this and that, where it's not even just like something new that the kids are using. Now it's got like years under it, where like when you see advertisements for shit, like there'll be little icons where you can follow, and it's like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTok logos in there now. And it's like man, it's like getting ingrained deeper and deeper, and it's like kind of weird being like in a demographic where, I mean, I know there's all ages are able to use that, but it just feels like almost like I had reluctance with other platforms in the past, but it's just like at this point, you know, there's YouTube, but I don't really interact very much on that. I just use, and then like Instagram, I've just been kind of like on a hiatus, like, and I don't really use with that either, but occasionally I'll like discover something, and then I'll be like, oh, they've got a Instagram account, like, and I'll go and follow them, but like be very adamant, like I don't want to get on there and look at stuff. I just want to get on there and follow this person real quick and get the hell off. Really weird. You know, I don't want to like get on there and start, oh man, now I feel shitty because I'm not engaging, you know, like by getting on there I see something and you're just like, oh, you know, it's like I feel like I don't want to get back into it right now. I do want to get back in, but like it's still like I don't want to right now, and I'm like just like holding off. And
I get it.
It's like, I mean, like that YouTube's like my main, that's like my main media like input. Like I don't watch the news, you know, I don't watch television.
Right.
And it's like if something happens, it's like I get that news through YouTube. There'll be like a breaking news like row when something happens, you know, you're just going like, oh, well now I know that happened. But
right.
Or there'll be clips of things. Oh, so this will be a good segue. I saw a clip. I mentioned this with Kevin Allman. I think it was recorded in that last podcast with him, but I'll bring it up with you. So this was mind-blowing, and I thought of you mostly with this because of the connection to you knowing about, you're familiar with My Breakfast with Blassie, right?
Yeah, of course.
I saw that on like DirecTV at my grandmother's house, like mid-late 90s, and I was like, what is this? But I'm going to watch it. It looks weird, and I got into it, and it was like, this is awesome. And the music that they scored with, and then like the whole oddness of it, right?
I know where you're going with this.
Struck me, right? So like, you know, that's just like one of my favorites. I know you understand that.
Yeah.
So like,
you rub their belly, you don't have to tip them as much.
Yeah, there's so much from that.
Oh, well, because so I know we're going to go on a tangent here, but it's like, you know what's sometimes simple and good? Just put a camera in front of two very entertaining people.
Dude, that's almost like a podcast in a way.
Yeah, it's just here's two very entertaining people like talking and like cutting it up, and like they're both healing it up a little bit, like
Fred Blassie with his like compulsion with like cleaning his hands and stuff. Yeah, anyway, so you know, like in the news recently, like Kanye West being like having things being in interviews, and he's saying things, and there's a lot of drama in that name right now, right?
Okay, I didn't know you were going to Kanye direction, so whatever I was thinking. Okay,
yeah, so I haven't gone out of my way to watch any of that. I've just only heard about it through the grapevine, but not even like in detail, just knowing that like, oh, what tangents he's going off on right now, you know?
Yeah.
So there was a video on YouTube, and it said My Dinner with Kanye, and it had that dude that I'm like, I don't know his name, but I'm like,
Wallace Shawn.
Perhaps
My
bald guy,
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Teacher in Clueless.
So
Yep.
So he's, and then I'm just going like, hey, that reminds me of a movie that I like, and so I watched it, and it was like, wait a second, man, this is like really striking a chord with me, like that melancholy piano score.
So it is
him going up
where I thought you were
going up to like a restaurant. I'm going like, this is really like My Breakfast with Blassie, but these clips that they've edited, because they were being spoofing that.
So
mixing.
You didn't know there was a movie called My Dinner with Andre?
I did not know about My Dinner with Andre, and it was like, I thought,
okay,
and I thought maybe there was a vagueness of familiarity there. Like, I don't know, like kind of maybe knew it, but then like this video,
so
blew my mind. I was like, oh man, no, duh. I mean, it's Andy Kaufman. He spoofs stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a parody or a spoof, and yeah.
And so for me, I just thought this was a
That's so
brilliant.
weird. You never knew that.
I thought it was
It is still brilliant, by the way.
I thought it was this brilliant one-off thing. The score
It
of
is a brilliant one-off thing.
and then it's like, but it took it to the next level for me because I'm like, oh man, like,
Yeah.
in one way it deflated the fact that I thought that was original, but then the fact that he spoofs it, I was just going like, man, that's like another level. It's like you know, in like hip hop sampling, you know, it's like almost like taking something.
It is like a version of that.
And completely do the exact like the same score. And for me, that music I was like stapled in my brain as like almost a juxtaposition because the music is very somber and you know and very like it's like sweet and sad at the same time. And it set up a very interesting mood for their the dialogue between Andy and Fred. So when I saw it in this context of this other movie, I was like, oh, I should watch that. And then like I started to watch a little bit, and I was like, I don't think I really want to watch this. This looks kind of like not funny. I don't know if it is or not.
It's so
My Dinner with Andre.
I have seen My Dinner with Andre once. Yeah, I'll put it this way: I've seen Breakfast with Blassie more than once.
Oh man, yeah.
So there you go. But now I saw it one time just because. Well, it has two things. It's got the you know, that's a takeoff of, you know, Breakfast with Blassie is a takeoff of that, and it's also referenced in Waiting for Guffman, the My Dinner with Andre dolls. Remember, he's like, "How'd you get reservations here? I made some calls. Just made some calls." They don't say that in the movie, but you can make up your own dialogue.
Whoa, that would have gone right over my head.
No, it's like I think they're playing themselves. Like it's them having a conversation. Like the actor Wallace Shawn and like I forget who the other guy is. Like I've looked it up before. You know, he's like but they're having like an intelligent conversation just about life and shit. And like but like obviously again like Freddie Blassie and Andy Kaufman are gonna be more entertaining.
Well, so the Dinner with Andre, there's no humor in that, right? Is that really just kind of dry?
Not really, no, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed dry, and I was just going like, oh well, I don't know if I want to go on my way to watch this anytime soon, but I appreciate now this like next level of appreciation for My Breakfast with Blassie. Which I should just like put that in. I got this TV up here on the VCR. I haven't hooked that stuff up yet, but that's kind of like I've staged that as like my like playing media like behind you know, or like I want to put a movie in while I'm like I don't know if I'm actually doing anything here at the desk. You know, it's almost like that's going to take my focus. But I do have this space over here that's like kind of going to be intended for
just looping Killer Clowns from Outer Space nonstop.
I'm like that's gonna be where I can actually like, you know, write, draw, etc. Like an actual like desk area to like do stuff with my hand and not clutter it up with like a bunch of like junk or whatever. And so I feel like for operations like that, when I'm in a position to do projects like that, it'll be nice to like go through and pull some tapes out or a DVD set or something and put a movie on and just kind of have that in the background and put something in like My Breakfast with Blassie where it's like I don't even need to watch it. I can just listen to it.
Yeah, I know we've had recent discussions about like sometimes just having that movie in the background, you're actually really not fully focused on the movie. It's just background noise while you're doing something else. Like you actually end up picking up some things that you don't pick up when you're not doing that. Like
Big Lebowski was like probably one of my earliest experiences where I would like review it over and over and just listen to the audio. Remember I had that on CD and I had on cassette tape where I would just listen to that in headphones, and it was just like it felt like I was getting something out of it deeper than like when it's almost like, you know, the experience of handicapping one sense and then another sense gets stronger. So like if you're just listening to the audio, like so much else is like might come at you, like recognizing the scoring or or just like maybe the dialogue becomes clear where it always just kind of went over your head or whatever.
Yeah, last time I saw that, it's been a little while ago, but the last time I watched it, I hadn't watched it in a while at that point, and like so with the fresh eyes, like I was like, yeah. I felt like it was the greatest hits. I was like, man, every scene, like I love every scene. Like, oh, here comes another one. Like, this is great.
What, Lebowski?
Yeah.
Very
Or it's just it's like a great album where it's like, no, every song on this album is good. It's like, yeah, every scene in this movie is goddamn good.
So I've got some movies here. These are some of the movies that I've taken down to the Eastern Shore to watch.
Yeah, you were talking.
And All My Lonesome. So the first one, this is the last one I watched, Good Morning Vietnam. I never saw this movie before. Have you ever seen this movie?
So I had. Yes, but I feel like it should be no because like I was a kid. Like I remember that movie being on as a kid. But I obviously know like he's in Vietnam and he's the radio guy.
Yep.
But no, I don't. I can't in good faith say like I have like too many like I couldn't do much with that movie specifically.
Yeah, I never saw it. Never had it in my repertoire. Like it just seemed familiar.
Yeah,
and,
it's
like,
definitely out of familiarity.
the quote from with the name of the movie where it's like him yelling that into the microphone.
Yeah.
But like it was just like one of those movies where like growing up you just be like, nah, it's not a movie I'm interested in. It's like a dad movie or something.
That and
Oh snap! This got a Target sticker on it.
It took a long time for me to like just come to the realization of like I don't like war movies.
Yeah, this
And
is
like
a war
even
movie.
like all the great war movies, like I've only watched them pretty much once for the most part. Like I've only seen Apocalypse Now once. I've seen Platoon once. I've seen Full
about
Metal Jacket once.
Really once.
I've seen the scenes with the guy more than one. Like I've gone back and like watched the YouTube stuff of the sergeant, but it's like I forget who I had this comment with. It was like that movie's not rewatchable, and like the second half of that movie's like in the war, and like I hate in the war, and then like it's depressing at the end of the Gomer Pyle stuff. So like yeah, the only thing I really like is the fucking drill sergeant.
Man, I recently saw like a clip of the dude that played what's his is it Vincent D'Onofrio?
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio.
That's the one that the rifle.
Yeah. Gomer Pyle. Private
yeah.
Pyle.
Yeah, so like watching that, I just remember just thinking about like how like he was talking about it was like almost like a YouTube short where it was like a TikTok thing where it's like, you know, I read the captions, it's him talking about it and just being like, damn, that's a good movie. Like I've watched that not a lot of times, but like I've got it on DVD, and I feel like the Stanley Kubrick box set, like the choice nugs, except
I'm
for
gonna
like
drop my controversial opinion. Stanley Kubrick's great. Those movies are great. A lot of them are fucking boring.
yeah, man, 2001.
2001's beautiful.
Yeah.
The soundtrack's awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
all awesome. It's boring. It'll put your ass to sleep.
I've never watched it from beginning to
Because
end.
it's hard.
I've tried like several times.
Barry Lyndon is the most boring movie ever made. Yeah, it looks beautiful. The only one that's rewatchable is honestly The fucking Shining.
That one, probably my favorite. Yeah.
Honestly, I thought about that. I was like, I know this is probably like silly. It's like that might be my favorite one because like some of the other ones, like even Clockwork can kind of get monotonous.
Yeah, the Clockwork would probably run second for
Some
me.
people hate Clockwork. I'm like, no, I still like it, but
Clockwork's
like,
so fucking weird. I love it,
but it's
though.
weird and it can get monotonous, and I will concede that. Like, if this isn't your thing, I get that.
Yeah, it's got some pretty like cringy moments to it where it's like
Well,
just like,
yeah,
it's like hard
the
to
nature
even
of
like
it. The nature
dude.
of it.
But the Shining, I'm like that's like that to me is like I could watch that.
I do like Doctor
Every
Strange.
year.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Haven't seen that one.
It's good.
That's black. Isn't that black and white?
It is black and white. It's from the it's from the 60s. It's funny, but also like, yeah, maybe I don't. Part of it's probably like I probably don't want to rewatch that because that can kind of get depressing too. I mean,
Didn't Kubrick do Lolita?
yeah,
Yeah, Lolita's a really good one too. I've watched that probably once or twice. I think I've watched it twice. I've got it on tape. But I remember like I had it bestowed to me, and I had it for years in my possession. Never watched it, and then when I watched it, I was like, "This movie's like really messed up." But like something about it is just like very like memorable.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to hit. So weirdly enough, I've never seen that one. Obviously, I'm aware of it. I have the DVD currently in my possession, and I'm borrowing it from my brother-in-law. I've had it for like probably like at least 2 years now, at least. And yeah, I haven't. Yeah, you know what it is? It's runtime, and then like it's like, well, I don't know when I'm gonna whittle that time out. And then if I am gonna whittle that time out, like I want to go for something like like safe, like that maybe I've seen before.
You're saying Lolita? You have?
I haven't seen Lolita.
What's the one you have that's you're saying you have on DVD? Haven't watched?
I do have Lolita currently in my possession on DVD at my house, so I could go home and watch it if I want. But like you, like something hasn't. I haven't had this. You eventually did get the spark, obviously,
Yep.
but I have yet to get the spark. Like I've had access to it. I've meant to watch it, but I haven't. But yeah, anytime like I pulled it out, I'm like, I don't. It's like over 2. It's like well over 2 hours, right? Like almost 3, maybe.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're watching like an old Hitchcock or something.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get into the story. It's
parts,
kinda,
there's reasons I want to watch it. Like
yeah.
obviously,
It's
But
almost
I
like
just haven't had the motivation to fully hit the play.
yeah, I don't even know what sparked it for me, but like I felt like maybe I was like in a time where I was like itching just watch. A lot of times I feel like my kicks with movie watching comes when I get ill, which forces me to
you're
be
forced to be
like I'm like sedentary, and I just kind of just be like, well, I'll watch movies. When I had like COVID or whatever during the summer, that was when I really went. I went deep with the at the like the last drive-in Joe Bob Briggs. I was like
right.
streamed like I crushed the whole 4th season, and I figured I'd work my way back, and I haven't. I've been kind of probably haven't been getting my money's worth out of it, but I watched like all the 4th season. It was just weird being like in this like fever days and like just half just like hot or tired and like watching all these weird. Some of them are just really crazy, but then the commentary and
Joe
all that.
Bob doing his boob and kill counts.
Yeah, like just like the whole like that whole shtick, like Darcy, the mail girl, you know, and like just the old man rant in the beginning before the movie even starts. It was just sort of like
So wait, this is his newer show.
yeah, it's
Okay.
on it's like I
I'm
think it's
aware of
Shudder
it, but I
exclusive.
haven't actually. I don't think I've actually seen an episode of it.
Yeah, it's I've kind of like
I like yeah.
his presentation goes back for me in the 90s with Monster
Good
Vision.
Monster- and I've went back and watched clips from Monster Vision
Shit's
in the
cool,
last
man.
couple years. Yeah.
I've
Did you ever see the one with Roddy Piper on there?
I've probably seen clips, but I don't think I recall because that would have been what They Live or something.
I think they did. It's They
Hell
Live.
Comes to Frogtown.
No, it's a movie I didn't know about until then, and then I was able to find that movie on you because it was just the clips of him and Piper, like it wasn't the movies on that. But it was They Live, and then the second movie was Immortal Kombat, and it's like him and Sonny Chiba are like these detectives, and they got to go to this island where it's got the girl from They Live with these like the girl with the crazy eyes. She is like running some ring where like she like fucks dudes, and then like that means like then like they're gonna die. Like she then like sacrifices them to like this fighting.
Immortal Kombat.
Yeah, Immortal Kombat.
What was it? What, it was like 80s.
No, it's like the early 90s, something in like that. Yeah, but it's a bad B movie.
Was it using? Was it? I mean, because of well, I think of Mortal Kombat, the game.
No, it has no connection whatsoever.
Was that predating the game and the?
I
all
don't
that
know. Who? God darn it. Yeah, it might have been right around the same time. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, we're.
So another movie I watched was Robert Redford in as Jeremiah Johnson.
Another one I'm familiar with. I've never seen it.
Yeah. So like a part of my like I bought like a large stock of these, like most of them are sealed VHS tapes for like they have like $3 a piece on, but I think it was like $50. The guy sold me this cabinet of like all these VHS tapes, and a lot of them have been sealed. So I want to watch them. I have to get my X-Acto out and cut the bottom open. But a lot of them are like they looked like it was like an old man's collection.
Sure.
You know.
Oh, yeah, with this and some of the I see some of the Eastwood coming up.
Yeah, and like I was kind of like, you know, am I good? I've filled up these. That's all filled up. I've got no room for new videos or movies, and they now have to start stacking on top of each other, and like it's like dang. But that has my entire collection in those black drawers.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I need to like start going through and being like process of elimination, and I'll get like a couple of these movies that just look like something I wouldn't like, and I take them with me to go watch.
Okay.
And I was like, this is one of them. I'm like, this just kind of looked like, I don't know, like some boring, slow Western or a pioneer thing. And I watched it, and the whole time, the video like was pinched, like where like the screen was distorted and like this wave, and it was a brand new tape. And I tried a different VCR because I have two VCRs there, and both VCRs did the same
It
thing.
was the tape.
So I just put up with it, but it ended up being a pretty charming story, you know, without really describing the whole thing. It was just sort of like he's just like some like Civil War leftover, and he just wants to go live in the mountains, and he ends up getting like a Native American wife or something, and there's like some charming moments to it, but it's a lot of like sadness but like kind of, I don't know, scratches like an itch if you're just like in the mode for just like man watching man stuff, like
man going out in the wilderness.
Yeah, like this wouldn't be something I'd be like, hey Randy, you want to watch this?
Hey, not well, there is a wilderness man that ends up in the movie, but you'll appreciate this. We found it somewhere, and Maggie wanted to watch it. I was like, yeah, I'll watch this. We'll watch it. We watched My Side of the Mountain within the last couple of
Oh
months.
man, it's a good one. That's a good one.
That's like a 69 era, in that era of movies, but so interesting. And then like, it is funny how like when he gets caught in the snow, like they just happen to get there in time. Like Bando and the librarian.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bando.
Yeah, I can't remember where that movie came. I think that movie I got exposed to it like right after elementary school, and I would go to the public library there in Hampstead, or right around North Carroll Middle.
Yeah.
And they had the movie section in there, and like it was like I didn't read. I was just getting movies. Yeah, Mom would go in there.
Yeah, I would get a lot of
whatever.
movies out of the library.
And it seemed like that was like my thing. It was like I just would get movies. Like I would.
That's how I saw Big Lebowski, was from the library, I believe.
I
Like initially.
I saw Big Lebowski when we had like HBO for free for like when we like got it, when I think it was when Prime Star became DirecTV, and we had a lot of premium channels for a while.
Okay.
And I saw it either on like HBO or Stars or something.
Always be good when you get the weekend
like premium channels. So
ooh, all right. What do they got on this one?
but yeah, I saw that, like I think that's where I saw that, like I got it from there, and just like it struck, I was like the right age for it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like I wanted to, like I remember as a kid just like wishing I could find books that could tell me what things I could eat out in nature. Like a book that would just be like the plants. And it was just so hard to find that. You couldn't find shit like that at the library. It'd just be like real vague stuff about like, basic plant identification, but it wasn't like survival eating plants out in the woods or something.
Well, this kid knew it was up. He was doing algae experiments.
Yeah, I know the algae experiments, and like we had like that pet raccoon or whatever.
That's right.
But yeah,
oh, now I can't think of his damn name. And I feel like I just watched it not that long ago.
Yeah, Bando was the dude.
Yeah, Bando's the dude for sure.
I remember telling this one when I worked at the Life Touch in Salisbury. There's like a lot of like women that worked there doing hired when I was hired, and I remember like talking with some of them. They're like younger than me, or maybe around my age, but like a lot of them had like kids and stuff. And I just remember just telling them because I was soon. I was gonna have a kid soon, and the first one was a boy, and I was telling him, I was thinking about like names, and I told him Bando, and and they were like, what? Where'd you get that from? And I was just like, I got that out of this movie from like the late 60s, and they're like, you gotta just leave that in that movie. And I'm just like, oh, all right then. And I'm like,
Bando.
I was going to imagine you naming the kid Bando, but yeah, that's like in my top. I wouldn't say like single digits, but that's a special movie for me because it just kind of goes back. I saw at the library, through the library, shit like I would like be renting like The Stand, The Langoliers,
Sure.
watching that stuff at like 11, and I remember watching it, and all these things were on like multi-tape. Remember, it was like multiple tapes.
Yeah.
I think The Stand was like 4 tapes or something like that, or like it was like a bunch of tapes. It seemed like.
I remember, a couple of things on that. I remember Casino being 2 tapes.
Yeah.
And do you remember? I remember seeing this at the. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing this at the library. But I didn't ever rent the tapes. I didn't see the documentary till years later on. Probably saw it on Netflix through the Wii, so many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ken Burns baseball documentary, and all the tapes would go together with like be the guy sliding.
Yeah.
If you had all the backs together. So I just remember that being cool.
Yeah, I remember watching the Ken Burns jazz right around, it was like a decade ago, like right around after like Dad
I think
passed
you just did
away.
a country music one recently. I haven't seen a lot of them.
I've
I've seen a lot of Ken Burns, and I haven't seen a lot of Ken Burns.
It seems like if I were to like dive into anything by Ken Burns, I gotta be in the right mood. But like,
Sure, well, yeah, with anything. Yeah.
when I watched the jazz one, it was like an escape from just like reality for me, where I was like really just getting immersed, and I was like loving the like expose on these like artists from so long ago
So
that
many
were
were
just
addicted to heroin.
yeah, like these just like crazy stories and like yeah, like Ken Burns style where it's just so thorough, you know.
Of course, right.
And yeah, it's like it's almost like if you can
Leaving
pay
no stone
attention,
unturned, yeah.
you'll get like it's almost like you're like watching like better than a movie because of all these details being painted in your head and you get like a timeline of stuff. But
Well, so I was saying that to somebody recently. Whenever they come out with, God, I hope I didn't say it on the last podcast, but whenever they make a movie out of something that was already a documentary, it's like, oh, if I saw the documentary, like I don't want to see the movie. Like the documentary did it way. You're not gonna do it better than the documentary. You're just not.
it's like an abridged version of the documentary.
Yeah, well, plus I saw the documentary. Like I saw the real guy at that, or whatever it is. Like I saw the real person, and now like now like you're really taking me out of it because like I know it's like the one that comes to mind is that Man on the Wire. Like I saw the documentary for that, the guy who does the across the Twin Towers back in the day. But then they like came out with a Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, and it's like I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but like I'm not seeing a movie where like I'm gonna be like, there's Joseph Gordon-Levitt pretending to be the guy in the documentary.
Kevin Albin told me about highly recommending the Weird Al. Like I think he said it's
That's
like
a biopic, yeah, with,
biopic.
Danny Radcliffe, the guy who played.
Yeah,
I
Harry Potter.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that. Well, that's a little different though. That's a biopic.
Yeah, so it's not like it's like.
Although I don't really go out of my
consolidating a
way to
documentary.
see a lot of those. Like I didn't like when they had the Queen one
Yeah,
or
that's the first one
the
comes to
Elton
mind.
John one. I was like, in both cases, I'm like, no. But for some reason, I have been intrigued by. I haven't seen it, but like I would not be opposed to seeing the Weird Al one. But I think I almost feel like it's just a Weird Al connection. We're like, no, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. I've been watching a lot of Little Britain clips lately. And there was
They're
like
good for just being clips.
yeah, I was watching this one where like they're like it was like being Elton John and like having all these like he like needs all these special things for the interview and it was just sort of like yeah, just like I don't know if I can really describe it where it's going to be anything.
He's
There's
being
just,
a diva.
it's like Randy was watching some like cooking show and like one of those dudes was on it.
It's from the yeah.
And I was like, oh, you need some reference here. Let me show you some.
They both pop up and shit. Yeah.
And I was showing her. I was
Especially
like,
the one that has alopecia.
yeah, the clips I was watching a lot of is like the guy in the wheelchair where he's just like,
They're the ones that probably have historically cracked me up the most of that. It's funny because I found them first and I introduced it to Maggie and Maggie really liked it. And after a while, like Maggie would watch it a lot and like I pointed out, I'm like, okay, but this doesn't hold up as well as some of the other sketch shows. Because I'm like, they're just doing the same hits over and over again. Like the same, like all the sketches are the same beat over and over again. Like you've seen one Lou and Andy sketch. They're all the same concept.
or there's a.
By the way, it's Lou Reed and Andy Warhol they're named after.
Really?
Yeah.
So that like they're.
Lou and Andy.
Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the way it's almost like the clips aren't even called like Little Britain or anything. They're almost like they're just their names.
Whatever the I'm trying to think. But I'm a lady. I'm trying to think of some of the reoccurring ones.
Well, the one where like the dude, he's like the only gay guy in the town. And,
Actually, that one cracks me up.
And they're just like all the sketches with that are always just ridiculous. But like,
Yeah, just the concept of like he's getting pissed off that like no, we're all tolerant of you. And
yeah,
like everyone in the town is tolerant of him, and then like they actually point out, like, no, there's other gay people. Like no,
it's like I'm the only one.
It's also extra funny for me because Maggie briefly early in our relationship worked at the Red Cross, and she had a coworker. I think his name was Jason, but yeah, I always referred to him as the only gay in the village. He was married to a woman, but he was just kind of a little bit portly, and he had like the blonde hair, very similar like length and blonde hair
to that character.
And so, and even Maggie laughed at it, and like he'd be like, "But I am the only gay in the village."
The one where it was like he goes to the shop to get his like the gay magazine and it's gone. And he's like, "Why is that gone?" And she's like, "Oh, someone else came and got it." And he's like, "Who?" I'm like the only one. And she's like coming up with all these different names. He's like calling her out. And then she like ends up being like, "Oh yeah, it was like the blacksmith guy." And then he goes to the blacksmith shop on his bicycle.
And the guy's like cut and real hot.
And he comes down and he's like, "Oh no, my brother got that." And then the brother comes down and he's like, super doofy looking. And he's just like, "Oh." Oh, I gotta get out of
Yeah,
here.
that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, I've been revisiting those sketches a good bit. I'm trying to think. None of these movies, none of these are funny movies.
I see that.
Yeah, none of these are funny movies. So
Some
this
Westerns, yeah.
So the Outlaw Josie Wales. So this was recommended to me. My friend on the Eastern Shore, he recommended like I think the Last of the Dogmen.
I don't know if I was familiar with
the
that
Outlaw
one.
Josie Wales, and then I feel like there's a third one too. But so like I had this Last of the Dogmen. I'll just pull that out.
Sure.
So this is a 90s movie, right? With Tom Berenger and Barbara Hershey, but Tom Berenger totally looks like Robert Pollard from Guided by Voices in the movie. He's got that.
Oh my god, he does.
He's got that moppy gray hair.
Holy shit, he does.
So like this is one of those movies where I was like, I'm not gonna like this. Sounds like one of those like romantic adult parent movies. And you're just going like, I'm that now. I'm like I'm a parent.
I kind of vaguely remember.
So like he's like kind of like a bounty hunter guy, and like there's a bus accident from like the prison, and like the prisoners get lost, and like they're like bad dudes, and he gets like hired to go hunt them down.
Oh.
And then it's like right in the beginning of the movie, dude, they don't make it. Those prisoners get done, man. They get taken out by like some mysterious woods people, and it's like it ends up being like this thing with like a certain tribe of Native Americans that are like supposedly they've been gone forever, and then they're actually still a small population in the woods. And it was actually, I enjoyed it. It was kind of like one of those things where I'm like having me like, oh, this is like kind of like, I wouldn't call it a chick flick, but it has like that romantic kind of like thing, but it's got some funny parts, a little bit of humor. But dude, it wraps up and it has a nice ending. It doesn't leave it all melancholy and shit. It's like a nice little, like if you got like a cold and you're hanging out in bed, and you just like don't feel like you're like lazy feeling. That's one of them kind of good ones to watch. But Randy didn't seem like she was interested. She thought it looked probably boring because it was like a dude and like just like wood, like just like fighting or something. But yeah, I watched this I had it in that stock from that collection, and I watched it, and then I realized I was like, this was on that list that my friend was telling me to check out. I was like, oh snap! I'm like, well, I can't wait to tell him that I watched it.
There
and
you
it was
go.
actually
Yeah.
half decent. But he also recommended the Outlaw Josie Wales. So I got this at the Hanover, the Black Rose Antique Mall.
Yeah.
It's like $3, and I was like, dude, this is on that list. And
We've
so
made some purchases at the Black Rose in the last couple years.
I walked through, and it was like it's like if you got a kid with you, it's like it almost feels like I could spend 2 hours in here pacing through nice and slowly looking at stuff. But with a young one in a cart, you're just going like, what do we come in here for? You're like, I could get out of here. But I popped this in to watch
you
it.
do have like a time limit on that.
And it was like within like the first like 30 seconds, I was like, I've already watched this. And I realized that like upon his suggestions back when he gave me like these, like I wrote them in a notebook when I worked at the hospital. And
yeah, you saw that one.
I went and like found it online somewhere and watched it. Randy fell asleep, and I watched it. But then because in the beginning of the movie, he's like working the land and with his son, and then like some bad dudes come along and just like burn his house down and beat him up, and his family gets killed. And it's just going like, oh yeah, I've definitely seen this. It's kind of like a Charles Bronson thing where like bad stuff happens to a man, and now he's just out for vengeance.
Seen like which ones I've seen, because like I have to admit, like I know Keith's like a much bigger Clint Eastwood guy. Not that I have anything against him, but like I have a blind spot with a lot of Clint Eastwood. Like even like some of the famous movies he's gone on to direct in later years. I'm like, yeah, I know that's like considered like a classic. Like that's really good. Like I just haven't seen, like, I don't know, it's like a blind spot. Like, but I have seen a number of Clint Eastwood movies, including some of the old ones, but like some I've seen, like I saw a long time ago, and like I'm like hazy. I'm like, now which one? I've seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but there's other ones, and I'm like, which ones have I seen and I haven't seen? And like,
yeah, those I got those on tape, and I've watched those in the
but I
past
haven't seen
couple
all
years.
of them, but I can't remember which ones I've seen. Like, and then yeah, I can't remember. Like, feel like I saw Outlaw Josie Wales years ago, but like, again, like I probably did see it. Like it's like Good Morning Vietnam. Like I know I actually like saw it, like not just like clips of it, but like it was actually like on TV, and like I watched it or watched a good chunk of it at some point in my life. But to tell you like details of it, or like I'm like obviously hazy on it, like. But Clint Eastwood in general, like he's kind of like a blind spot a little bit.
Well, there's still so much of that his like body of work that I'm unfamiliar with.
Right.
So this is one that I found. I don't know. Have you heard of this one? The Iger Sanction.
No,
But dude, look at the movie art. Look at the artwork on that. It's
well,
like
I love artwork like that.
that era is like an.
Oh,
like,
also George Kennedy, he was Ed in Police Squad.
yeah. Yeah. So that's I think Clint Eastwood directs that, right? I think it says it. I think he's like that's like an early
directs and stars. Yeah.
So in the movie you watch and you're going like this is like
John Williams did the music 75. Yeah,
Dude.
okay. Yeah, okay, 70s.
so like it's a 70s movie. It's got all the 70s kind of content,
Uh-huh.
but it's got some things that did not age very well in there.
Okay.
So like one thing is like his like love interest in the movie. Like it's kind of funny because he directs it, he's the star, and there's so many of these scenes that really like make him out to be like such a badass, right? You know, it's like, oh, it's kind of funny to think about.
It's I'm making a vehicle for me.
Yeah, and like if it's got those vibes pretty strong. Like he really just looks like the smooth, cool badass the whole time. He's got a love interest, and her name is Jemima.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he brings it up to her attention. You know, like the sort of correlation. You know, she's a darker skinned woman, and she's like, she just blows it off like her mom had. She says something where you're just going like, oh, okay, but it's like kind of like, wow, it's kind of a wow. It's like her name's Jemima, and then so that was kind of peculiar. The other thing that seems to not be very well aged is there's a man in a sort of later in the film that's like kind of like a bad guy, but not like the main bad guy, but like he's very gay, and he has a dog, and the dog's name is the F word, the slur for and he's like he said come, and he said the name of the dog, and I'm just like, wait a second, did he just call the dog and I'm like, my ears, like I'm like really watching it, and then he says the name again when like he hands the dog off to some random like woman, like a waitress. He's like, here, can you watch my dog for me? And like he says something like he does this, his name, and he tells her the name. I'm like, wow, they definitely, I'm like, holy smokes. But I'm like, it's just so weird just hearing those things because of like just thinking about like the writing and just being like, yeah, we're gonna put that in there, you know, and like thinking about how I hear that phrase from time to time, you know, like certain things, like especially in comedy, like when things don't age well. But it's weird when they're like,
there's some like some Eddie Murphy that comes to mind where it's like,
yeah, man,
that don't hold up well.
His stand up,
specifically
like the red leather.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was okay. It was like basically like a 70s movie. I wouldn't say it was awful.
But
it's not a Western movie. It's kind of just like, you know, spies and.
Recently, we watched. I think they actually have like a newer season somewhere else that I can't watch, but Mystery Science Theater came back in the last couple of years on Netflix. But we actually, me, Maggie, and Lucy was even like into them. We were watching them, like different people and stuff do them. But they did the movie Avalanche from like the 70s, and it's got Rock Hudson, who plays like, he owns this resort that's on the mountain. And Mia Farrow is in it, and like they're married, but they're estranged. And so like he comes. So it's funny you say that. Like it reminds me, it's very similar. Like it's from the 70s. They're in the snowy town, and you know, he's kind of a dick to her. Of course, they make fun of it because they're like, my heterosexuality, because it's Rock Hudson.
Yeah.
But you know who else is in the movie? He's kind of, I guess you would call him the hero, but like he's just up on the mountain, and he's like, I guess he's doing like environmental, like he's checking the environmental stuff, and like he's warning him like, no, you got to get the people, you shouldn't be out here doing this resort, like you shouldn't have built this resort in the first place, and I told you that. And he's like, and shit's about to go down, and he's like he threw a snowball and like a bunch of snow fell. He's like shit's about to go down, like he's telling them, and like they're brushing him off, but then he falls in love with Mia Farrow. But it's I didn't even tell who it was. It's Robert Forrester, the guy who played Max Cherry and Jackie Brown.
Oh, okay,
but it's young.
yeah.
It's 20 years before Jackie Brown. So yeah, it's a bad movie, but like it's like a 70s disaster movie, so it's like stupid and fun.
How was the
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
what is it when you I don't want to say it's not cinematography, but like the whole like camera work of it, isn't that called the cinematography?
Well, yeah.
Like the sort of like the shots were like
Yeah,
there's
so-
helicopter shots or something, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say like or asking are they memorable in that movie? Are they seem
There
like
are helicopter shots in that movie. Yeah.
So this movie, the Iger Sanction, has like some pretty phenomenal shots, and it was like that would be another thing I would walk away from saying it as a suggestion of it being like interesting just to watch is because of the like, dang, that would have been expensive to make. You know, just like some of these shots are like they mounted a film camera on a helicopter and just did this long uncut shot of just him just standing on like looking out or like being up on like a like dude there's this one scene where him and this other the old dude like climb they do a lot of rock climbing in preparation for this like mountain climbing snow mountains or whatever, but like all this rock climbing out in like a desert, and it's like one of these structures where it's just almost like a big rock pillar, and it's like many stories high, and they do a shot where they like the helicopter just shows them on top. It's real, and you're just going like, wow, like that just makes my balls hurt looking at it. They're just like sitting on the edge of this like just this like very like natural looking rock tower, and it's just like, dang, they had to get them up there and then do the shot with the making it look like they're just chilling and just like reflecting or whatever. And I'm just like, man, what a costly movie to make. So maybe it's not that much money, but it just seems like that's just like above and beyond for what I expect in modern cinema.
In scenes like that, not only do I get because they'll just
CGI, yeah.
But no, and again, not to sound like the old man, but it's like, I'm sorry, like when you actually are practically doing it, like you actually get a visceral effect, like, oh, like, yeah, I feel that, like, and not only that, like, so yeah, I always think about those things, like, yeah, I'm scared for them, like being up there. I always think about like it's gonna suck the worst, the getting down.
Well, it was like all these shots where like it shows them climbing. You're just going like, wow, some of these are pretty like authentic. But then like in that one, it's like, yeah, like it seems like they would have had to use a helicopter to get up there and then a helicopter get off. They cracked beers on top of it too, and that made me uncomfortable because I was like, the last place I would want to be inebriated is on the edge of a cliff. You know what I mean? Like it's like crazy. Different times though.
Yeah, I saw. I didn't see the movie, but I saw something that like alluded to the movie. I guess it came out in the last year or two or so. But these two girls, I guess, like climb this tower and then they get stuck up on the tower. And I guess like most of the movie takes place like them up on this very small platform on this tower. And I'm just like, nope, wouldn't want to watch that.
Ugh.
Would not want to spend time up there.
I don't know how it is now, but I kind of like noticed I had some bad vibes with being up high recently. Like this summer, like one example was like, so I tried changing the doing a repair on an outside light, which was like on a like kind of like a telephone pole, and I had to use an extension ladder, like my big one, and it was like I was probably, I don't know, getting close to 20 foot off, like 20 foot up off the ground, but like the ladder was on a pole, so like the ladder wasn't able to be like steady, so the ladder would rock when you're going up it.
Yeah.
And then the pole itself was like kind of flexing.
The ladders are not.
I
don't like ladders. Ladders are nothing to be fucked with.
I was like, I have to like lean halfway off of the ladder to reach the bulb of this thing. And I was like, I bailed. I was like, I can't do this. I'm afraid. I'm like, I'm gonna like fall and break my neck.
No,
and
that's not bullshit. Like the amount of ladder accidents that happen each year is like, it's bigger than you think.
It's like I'm like, part of me felt like a total like pussy, but like I was like, man, like,
nah, you're talking to the right person. Like, now I've learned to especially a certain kind of ladder. Like, we're not just talking about your like easy 6 foot ladder or step ladder. Like, what you're talking this, and specifically the situation, like, yeah, that's an unstable like extension ladder. Like,
that's a big ass extension ladder.
If you didn't feel 100% safe, like, you're right to like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
There's just so much movement. I was like, I've been eyeing that job up for like a year or two, and I was like, with the move, I was like, I gotta get this done because I need to take this ladder up with me.
The concept of window washers, that people have to go like up on like those big towers that like, have to climb up. Like, I don't know how I just don't know. I guess there's a certain breed of person that can do it, but like, it ain't me.
It's probably like you
Just
just
the thought of it, I can't do.
maybe like you get like thicker skin the more you do it or something.
I'm sure.
The other
One of your episodes, you should bring one of those people in and ask them.
have a conversation with them. It's like what's it feel like to
I'd like to go to the top of the Bay Bridge. Every time I drive the Bay Bridge, I think about somebody has to walk up there every now and again.
Every time I drive by, I notice like the catwalk like footing of the thing going up.
Yeah,
and I'm just going like, dude, there are people that probably have to scale that, and you're just going like,
of course, it's not there for no reason.
and it just like I'm like, I need to not think about this because it's like I'm up on a bridge like over 100 feet above water. I'm just like, don't think about that. It's just like I can't believe I'm driving a vehicle like 55 miles an hour right now, this high up off of water.
Yeah, I don't get as freaked out as my dad will on the bridge, but there are times like it is scary up here.
Driving the U-Hauls, 20-foot U-Haul trucks loaded.
I'm sure.
I was like my knuckles are like white, and I'm just going like I forget how to drive right now. There's just like a weird feeling. It's just like you're just like, how am I doing this?
I drove a boat over the Bay Bridge once because again my dad drove down there, but before the Bay Bridge I had to take over. But yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's like, oh, there's an extra thing to this now.
We went to Gettysburg, or just kind of perused around the outskirts of Gettysburg, and we stopped at this one tower. It was like this big metal.
Yeah, I know what you're
thing.
talking about. I haven't been to one in years, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm like, man, I'm kind of tired of all this driving around. I'm like, we're going to do something while we're driving around here. So I stopped, and we all got out, and we started to go up it, and I could only get like halfway. And like I got Brad like tugging on me and like wanting to pull, and he's like, I'm like half feeling like I gotta like crawl up the steps. I'm only like halfway up, and I'm just like, I can't go up there. Like it's so open and exposed.
So you probably couldn't like do the Eiffel Tower or something.
It's weird. Like I never felt like I had those feelings before. Like I never, like I might get a little, my balls might kind of like,
sure.
When I look over the edge of something, but like I never had like paranoias or fears, and I did things that seemed like, I jumped off of like rocks at Pretty Boy and crap, but like, on this most recent experiences of this year, I was like, man, like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe just like a stage in my life, but the whole like, it was like vertigo, I just felt like I was like getting dizzy, like I was gonna fall down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. I didn't have a heart attack recently, but I had a friend I worked with who had a heart attack, and he said once he had the heart attack, he started to be like deathly afraid of heights and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's kind of crazy.
No, but you could have developed some sort of vertigo or something. Who knows?
Yeah, like I'd like to think that was just a phase and it's like gone now, but like when I've looked at that light down in the house, and I'm just going like, I can't believe I couldn't do that. It looks so easy. But then when you like set the ladder up and you're like 18 foot off the ground and it's like all wobbly.
8 feet from the ground looks like nothing, but when you're like standing, like your feet are 8 feet from the ground. Yeah, like if you're on the top of a shed or something, like it's never so 20 feet, forget about it. Like from like the vantage point, you're like
Travis Schaefer, I remember jumping off his house in like teenage years, and his house is like his parents' house, like one story. And you're looking at it from the ground, and you're like, I see like the windows, first floor, little peak. It's not a steep roof. You're going like, that doesn't look hard at all. And then when you actually get up there, like jumping off of it onto a trampoline, and it was like you get up there on the peak of the roof, and you're going like, I don't know. Like you're like psyching
really
yourself
just have to
out.
Not think about it.
It was just like, he had like mattresses and the trampoline. They're doing it, and I was just like, I was able to do it, but it was like surprising how on the ground it looks easy.
Yeah.
Because it's only one story, and then you get up there and you're just going like,
that's our
8 foot off of the ground. You're just like
my roof is like it's nothing. But for most of the part, it really, I mean, it is still the same feeling. It's like, oh, it's a little different when you're up here, but that one side of my house, because the way my house is on that hill, the one front corner, it was like, it's actually a pretty good drop when you get up there, because like you really essentially are just 2 floors up at that point with the basement, because where the sliding door for the basement is. So like that is like, you're pretty good up there now.
There was a job when I was framing, working, doing like the house construction stuff, where I was
Mason.
Mason Dixon, and the house was one of them deals where like the one corner of the house was there was like a basement entrance. So it almost was like 3 stories. It was like a 2-story home, but then there was that basement on that corner of the house. If you put a ladder up, it was like it was like 3 stories of structure, and it had Tyvek, that white plastic sheeting you put on the outside of it before you put like siding or whatever on it.
Okay.
And I think what was going on is real windy, and I was told to go and like secure some of these like loose flaps up in the corner. And I remember like I set up the ladder, struggling, and I get it set up and I climb up there and I just don't feel comfortable. And I was like, I remember like not doing it and going back and just like telling, the man that was like, head honcho.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't do that. And he seemed a little perturbed, but he's just like, all right. And then like one of the other guys did it. I just remember like feeling like down on myself, but also like a respect to that guy for not like belittling me. And like he like respected the fact that I was like, I feel like I'm going to fall. I'm like really uncomfortable. It was windy. It was really windy. That's the reason it was like blowing around.
Factors, yeah.
I thought it wasn't safe, and it was someone else went
That's
and did
fair.
it. I don't remember who did it, but I just remember it. It seemed like it had to have been taken care of at some point in time. So somebody had to climb that ladder and do that. And it's like I feel kind of like describing it now, like I really like went
really wussed out.
I really wussed out, and like someone else had to do it or whatever. But it's like I just remember like the vibe of respect for someone that said like, all right, instead of being like, why can't you? You should get up on that ladder now. It was just like they're just like
there's a certain mentality that would be putting
All right,
you back
man.
up there.
And so it's like little experiences like that kind of, go into my reservoir of like, trying to be patient, with like when someone's like, with kids or something, like the times when they're just going to be like, oh, I can't do this. And you're just like, well, you can't force it. You just kind of have to let nature take its course and be encouraging. But like in that situation, yeah, and I always just remember just feeling like afraid that I was going to get yelled at, like or ridiculed because I couldn't knock out slamming some staples and some plastic sheeting. Maybe I have a fear of heights. I'm in denial.
Yeah. Maybe it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, but I've done stuff that seemed to, like going water parks and stuff. You gotta like climb up.
Yeah, no, there's some legit like you can get up there and be like, oh.
Yeah, there's all
right, going down the slide now.
But I've done all that stuff and like I remember doing remember Adventure Park or Adventure World?
That became Six Flags.
Yeah. Like
I never went there before it was Six Flags.
So I remember like Cal Ripken Jr. doing commercials for it.
Yep.
I remember going there.
He owned it until Six Flags bought it. He was like a part owner.
Oh, and it was like what? Like how far away from like Baltimore?
Oh, it's close. It's like in Bowie. It's like near the where the Bay Sox play.
So we went there and I must have been like 10 years old and I got lost, separated from my family, and I think that's all it was, just like immediate family. Maybe my cousin or something could have been there. I don't know, but I just remember I got separated and I was all by myself, and I got in line for the Mind Eraser, which was like the intense one. That was one where I feel like they had commercials for it.
Yeah, they did.
And I remember waiting in line and like I don't have anyone to talk to. I'm just getting on this ride by myself, and I remember the feeling of it, like going, like loading, like you're going up the first like climb and like the clicking and just being like, oh man, what did I do? And then like it hits the top and then it drops down and it just, the way like my head was all banging around in like the harness.
That's it.
And I remember like it was quite a thrill. And then like afterward just being like the Mind Eraser, more like like I felt like I was like trying to make a joke, like it was like more like the Mind Scrambler, like the way my head was banging around in the harness. That stuff was like, very, like doing that, like I was almost like testing if I could or not. Like I was like, I think maybe my cousin maybe could have been there, or maybe my brother. I don't know if any of them wrote it, but I wanted to, and I may have been the only one that wanted to. So it was like maybe like I got lost. And I was like, I'm riding this ride.
Yeah. I'm already lost.
I remember there was another ride too at some park, someplace when I was a kid. It was like that ride where it was like the ship. you know? And like I was so little that like I was sliding out from the harness and freaking out. Like I just remember thinking I'm gonna fall out of this thing. It was like traumatic, and I hate that fucking ride. I never want. I did it as an adult, and it was just like, oh yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's
when
like
you
a
fit.
nothing ride, right?
But it was like, why was I allowed to get on there? I was like, I was probably the right height, but damn, it seemed like there was like nothing actually keeping me in there, and I'm like, I felt like I was gonna slip out. Last one I have here. I don't know. I feel like I almost was like talking with Kevin about this on Auburn. I don't know if it was on camera before or not, but yeah, the Magnificent Seven. You familiar with this one?
Familiar? I've not. I don't think I've actually seen it, but yes, I'm aware.
So he was telling me it's like based off of, and it says it on the back, the Seven Samurai or some kind of like something that I was like, that's why it seemed half familiar, like it was redone or it's been a theme that's been repeated or whatever. But it was like a couple badass dudes rolling to town, and this little town's got these problems with some bad hombres coming in and messing with them. So like these other kind of bad guys that become the good guys help the town be like fight back, and they fight off the bad dudes or whatever. And it was pretty cool. It has Charles Bronson in it, but like a young Charles Bronson. And there's a scene where like the little boys in the town, they're all like admiring him and like trailing after him. And there's like, oh, our dads are cowards. And like he grabs the kid and like grabs him like real fast and just starts like whomping on his ass, like bah, 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 and like pushes him. He's like, don't you ever say that about your fathers. And like he gives this speech where he's like, you think I'm like, you know, tough because I carry a gun, and like it's like your fathers, like the load that they carry, you know, for you and like your family and the work that they do, it's like kind of like a boulder on their back, like constantly like twisting and burying them. And it's just like he just basically gives this speech about how like their dads are way more cooler than he is.
Right.
He's just like he just goes and shoots people or whatever. And I just was like, damn, I like that little speech, man. But it was weird because he didn't even look familiar to me in that. I was like watching it, and I was like, oh wait, that was Bronson. I like forgot about that, and I was like, oh yeah, that must have been him. I'm just so used to him being like gray haired,
always
and Death Wish and stuff.
yeah.
But I'd recommend it. But it's like pretty you know, just like any other, you know. It's not as it's not as fabuloso as the spaghetti westerns, but it's just like it just feels like if you got the time and you just, you know, you can just sit around in a recliner, you know, it's like a nice one to watch, kind of chill, nice little story, olden times. Yeah, so that pretty well covers all the new movies. I have to pee real bad.
Okay.
Now, I remember I think what I'll do is, if you're interested in continuing, I'll take a little bathroom break. I'll let that roll, and I'll edit this little downtime out. But we had some ideas of things that we would maybe discuss, like some concepts of perhaps future projects or something.
Sure.
Cool. All right, well, I'll be right back. Yeah, with my exhaust being like pretty well like missing a section. I just sound like I got like this like, you know, race car or whatever. But I'm like, I'm gonna get pulled over eventually. I'm not superstitious, but I am sort of superstitious enough where I would like make claims about jinxing and things like that. Like it's almost like I'm ready to be pulled over. I think I want to get pulled over, you know, eventually with this issue. That's one of the things I'm like, I got to get it repaired so that I won't be hassled. But I'm like, I'm not driving dirty or anything, but like, you know, it's like I don't want to be bothered. You know, I don't want them bothering me with that. But then I started thinking, like, dude, I wonder if they would really even hassle you for your exhaust, because that's just loud. So you go through one of these little sleepy PA towns late at night, coming home from a friend's house or something. You know, it's almost like, would they pull you over for just being kind of like loud sounding? You know, the car itself is pretty inconspicuous. It's not like it's all like modified, like they could pull you over and find something that's not, I don't know, like legal or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm, in my mind, like so I don't usually use a rear view mirror. Mm-hmm. Like, and the rear view mirror has a set screw on it, so you can undo it and just take the rear view mirror off. And I've been not using a rear view mirror probably for over 10 years now, at least. but I keep the rearview mirror under the seat, and like my plan was if I ever got hassled about it, I'd be like, oh, I just knocked it off. I had to glue it. I was letting the glue set on the bracket. I had to re-glue it, and it's like I can just put it on right now. It's like they probably would still write you a freaking repair ticket, and you'd have to follow through with it.
Yeah, probably.
You're like, no, look, it's solved now. Look, it's done.
Okay, but just
Yeah. So all right. So you've got I see you got a notebook there. So you is this notebook strictly certain ideas?
no, it's a hodgepodge.
I kind of with moving. I have a few different notebooks, and I have one's music, one's free writing, one's electronics, and then one it would be visual. Like
Okay.
if I had an idea for a music video, it would have just
Okay.
been like
I thought
video
we were
stuff,
just drawing.
or no, like it's actually like photo ideas, stuff
Okay.
for like visual art that I'm not like it's an idea, but I'm not going to do it anytime soon.
concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
But like since I moved here, those were kind of like half packed up, and I just I got like I got a top spiral, and I started just putting everything in there. Not necessarily like free writing stuff, but like that stuff's kind of slowed down. And I have gotten those books back out, and I've put a little bit in there, but I haven't gotten back in the routine. I used to always have them within reach. I'm like, oh, this is like a song lyric, or this would be like a good album title, and I would grab that book and like write it in there. But yeah, like I've been kind of using this like top spiral as like a general, just like notes on a lot of house shit, you know, like a lot of like I'm writing down like company names and making a list and checking it twice, seeing which one's naughty or nice. And so you
No, I've like written things in here like band name Holland Lop or something like that. Yeah.
so that's just like kind of like freestyling right over there.
Yeah. But I came up with I guess the last time we talked about like you could do a low budget like action figure show.
Like stop motion animation kind of.
No, that'd be too much work probably.
Yeah, it would be a lot of work.
No. I mean, straight up, like we're just like
Holding them.
Yeah, it's just like you're filming the action figures and just talking for them. Doesn't have to be any bigger than this, but like, I kind of would like the idea, if possible, of like actually like getting like the created characters, like to have them uniquely like the characters for the show, not like just using G.I. Joe and this guy and this
Copyrighted ideas.
right, exactly.
Here's my Batman figure.
Right, because, thinking about that, like, Lucy watches people playing with action figures, but yeah, like, Disney figures and like branded figures. So actually, yeah, it's funny. The day you were going to come over, Charlie came over too. And I actually asked him, I was like, well, you're into figures. Like, so I asked him about like, what kind of creative figures, options are there? Are some options. Sounds like, it's always like a stock thing, but like you could still, in theory, custom some of these, so that would be an idea. But like I actually came up with like a concept of what the show would be. And it was all based off of I feel like a Tim and Eric sketch. Like I had the name first and I built out of there.
Yeah.
Figurehead.
Figurehead.
So it's action figure, so figurehead.
Yep.
But then also playing on the other flip of that with figurehead. So basically, it's a show. It's action figures, and it's this disgraced executive, and he leads like this rogue army to take back his company. So like each episode would be like him planning and scheming to like storm the company and try to get it back or something, and like why he doesn't end up in jail forever. Like we'll explain that away in some goofy, it's going to be a goofy show, obviously. But yeah, I have like different like ideas. Like I've written down some different character names and like just different ideas that have come to me for it. So like it's not like a fully formed idea, but I do have some various things for it.
I keep on seeing in my head, I think maybe this was part of where in our previous discussions, it seemed like there were some references at that point too of Action League Now.
Well, yeah.
Of like Kablam and stuff.
Yeah, we had talked about because I guess we had talked about
because that show holds up.
It does, yeah, and
you can watch Kablam on YouTube, and if you do, and you grew up seeing that and stuff on Snick, it's like that show actually holds up.
They don't have all of them, unfortunately, but Paramount Plus does have a lot of classic Nickelodeon, including the Kablams. And every sketch of Kablam
Yeah,
holds it. 'Cause, yeah,
Prometheus and Bob.
I really like that one. Yeah.
Sniz and Fondue.
Well, it's funny because I didn't for some reason knew I was like Action League's gonna hold, like I just knew like Action League will hold up, Prometheus and Bob will hold up. I was like, I wasn't sure about the other ones though.
Life with Loopy.
But I thought all of them held up.
Yeah.
Life with Loopy was funny. Yeah, Sniz and Fondue got laughs out of me. Like it was all good. All of it was good.
So like in my mind, it's like I'm trying to think of ways to you know, like what do you think? Like how much like what's the body count? I mean, how many figures would you be?
Yeah, you probably would want some backups on that. Yeah.
Like if you for your concept.
And how many people?
Like
right?
you got, I mean, how many characters do you? Are you? Would there be like reoccurring like a main character?
There's gonna be a lot of them are gonna be reoccurring.
So would it?
I
be
would
like
imagine like they'll all end up having to be reoccurring in a way.
Would every single figure have to be like
Custom?
Custom?
No, I don't know if you'd have to go that crazy, but I was thinking that, yeah, but trying to make the other ones like maybe I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
What if
Either
you?
vintage or unique.
What about like buying like cheap ones from like say like and like customizing them, like spray painting or just like changing them so they're not.
It could be as simple as that.
So
Yeah, like getting dollar store versions and messing with.
So I watched this one show on YouTube, or just one channel on YouTube for a good while, maybe like in the earlier part of 2022, Steady Crafting, and this dude does a lot of action figure like stuff all over the place, but just dude's always steady crafting. But like with that, like he you know, kind of opened my mind up to like all these different ways that you can create like make your own action figures, and like really going deep into like the whole like and like from like how many moving parts they are, or like how their bodies actually like move, and like the differences between certain, you know, toys that we're familiar with, and like the pros and cons, and like in designing something that has those sort of features. But like, you know, 3D printing is, you know, a one angle of resource, but like it seemed like a lot of the stuff was, you know, you create like molds and then like injection molding, and then you could like, you know, basically like, you know, almost like having a 3D printer, like this like particular setup where you create molds, and then you buy like the goop or whatever, and then you like, you know, inject it, and then like that stuff cures, and then you snap the pieces together, and you can make like, you know, this particular action figure, and you can colors of things. There's a lot of room for customization, but it seemed pretty way beyond any of my you know, within reach of like, you know, something I would take on, because you're going like, man, that's a lot of stuff, you know.
Sure.
That's a lot of equipment. But if you're into that, it's like, it's kind of cool, because I feel like now more than ever there's like a variety of resources for you to get into that, like if you want to make like custom action figures. But for this project, I wonder if you could like another thing that guy did too is he would like go and like, I think it was like kit bashing, where you would take different bits and pieces of different kits and parts and things, and like make it different, like take something and like glue other parts to it and just make something look like cybernetic, and like put paint on it to make it look like it's been through the apocalypse. And it's just like, this dude does a phenomenal job of that stuff. But I was inspired to do it, but I never did it. But Randy did it. She bought like these little kits and like made like haunted houses.
Okay.
But they were like little like doll houses and stuff, and she like decorated them, and she did a little kit bashing. But yeah, that could be like an option. Maybe it was like going to like the Family Dollar, because that was like one of the resources. He'd go to like the dollar store and just get all these different like.
They always got cheap figures.
Yeah, and it just like, I've never heard of any of this stuff, but you could probably get that stuff in like because it's not G.I. Joe or, you know, trademarked Marvel stuff or whatever, probably be able to create a fleet of figures out of that avenue. I wonder if you can like order like just like blanks, like
right,
like flesh tone blanks or something. So then you would be like, what? Would you create like sets, like almost like a train, like almost like a model train, where you have like an environment where they're at, like you'd have like almost a diorama.
Probably would have to have like a couple sets, and then you could probably take them outside for certain things and this, that, and the other. But yeah, you probably would want to have a couple of like reoccurring, easy to shoot sets. Yeah, like a model train.
Um, I was just thinking, like, what if you had a green screen, like green gloves, right?
Oh yeah,
And then you could like shoot that shot with nothing in it, and then do the shot, but then your hand and arm are like in a green glove, and then like then in post you just like make the plane shot fill in the green screen of your arm or your hand. And I wonder if that would work, or if it would just be too much work for very little effect, where it's like maybe for the style of it that the hands in there really wouldn't be like bothersome. Right. I mean, it's like you could it's still immersing at the same degree, but if you did the green screen, almost would be a distraction where you'd be like picking out the flaws of like, why is that guy's waist disappearing? Because like the fingers are clasping it, and then the fingers are green screened, and then just like
that's right.
It'd be kind of trippy or something.
Yeah, like one of those 60s, 70s videos, where they had like the tie-dye background.
Yeah. I've got a green screen sheet, and I think it's like 12, maybe like 12 by 12 or something like that. But I haven't used it at all. I think I used it for photography, like I was taking pictures of stuff, but I didn't even use it for the green screen effect. I had aspirations of like things in the future being like, oh, I want to do, I think it was like almost like creative endeavors, like music video projects that could come about where I'm like, well, now I've got the green screen material. But then it's like, if you don't have a way to like hang it very easily, that can be kind of a pain in the ass. Cause it's like, it's just a big sheet. It's sure. Like, I need to like clamp it to something or somehow attach it to like the top of a ceiling or a wall or whatever. But that could maybe be a resource too, where you could, I don't know, for that, where like you could use green screen to change the background, or if you had like a setting, like if you made like a little, when you're on a table and you're supposed to be out in the desert, and you could just like set it up in a way where the table could be dressed in a way to pull that texture off, but then the background of it could be, I don't know.
So yeah, I guess I already plotted out like how the storyline wise there'd be, at least initially. I even put like final, like maybe just cut it off at that point anyway, but like there'd be like a 3-season structure. There'd be the like, all right, he got kicked out of the company, and I kind of forgot this till just this moment that I went this far. Like, yeah, so in the beginning they'd be on a hippie commune hiding from the government, but he's plotting. And then in season 2, I get, that's the other thing. I do have like an FBI character that's going to be like following, coming after him. But so in season 2, he's on a ship in international waters. But then in season 3, that's the like storm the castle. Like we're going to the Titan Towers and taking it back.
So what kind of structure are you thinking here too? With like, say like an episode, you're saying seasons, okay?
Yeah, I don't think the episodes would be that long, though.
So what do you think, these would be almost like shorts?
Storyline, yeah.
Like less than 10 minutes, like kind of shorts?
Yeah, I would think so.
And then like how many you think you could envision would be a season? A dozen?
I guess like I have a vague concept of what these all get to, but like, yeah, I guess you'd have to flush it out a little bit more to be like, well, okay, well then if we're doing that, like if this happens in this episode, then this takes us to this. Kind of have to flush it out a little more.
What do you think would be like the next step?
Well, obviously the flushing it out and like, kind of actually having like more episode ideas, like the specifics, and then actually flushing out these then characters, and then figuring out like, well, then where are the figure, making those characters, because that'll probably be important.
So would you imagine doing like a pilot?
You probably want to test it.
So what do you think, how do you think the pilot would go? Would it be the explains the whole, like that's
a good, probably, you'd have to do the backstory.
So it's like sets the stage for the story for it to like, oh, now I gotta see
Yeah,
what
because you're
happens
probably
next.
not throwing them on the commune till either the end of episode 1 or even episode 2. Like, you're getting the like, how do we get, or you start there and then like you have to go back to like, well, how did we get here?
So we're going to just one main character, or is he going to have like a team?
Yeah, he's got people that came are like on the run with him. Like, yeah, like one of the characters that has like Anderson's secretary. Like, I haven't figured out the full details, but like she shouldn't be here. Like, she's like obviously pissed. Like, somehow he got her wrapped up into this, and like she's like why am I here? Like, I have to live on this commune on the land from the law, but like I don't know why. Like, why am I here?
So I guess the dialogue would just be also just the narration would occur from the person manning the figures.
Yeah, you know, and maybe we'll. I mean, I guess I guess that's what I was thinking. Yeah, you'd probably have to do it that way. I guess technically you could, if not all of it, you could obviously do some of it in post.
Well, I'm in. How do you think I can contribute?
Well, I don't know how yet.
I mean,
like-
I'd be willing to be, the voice of a character, be a character. Which character could I be?
I don't know now. Yeah, and maybe some of this will be.
Are you going to Clint Eastwood this and be the main character and just be like, it's like...
No, not necessarily. I don't know. I think sometimes it'll probably come to, what do these figures end up looking like? Who would be and then so who's going to be the best person to do a voice for that? I don't know. I have no idea. I have a character in here called Dr. Young Pills. He takes his Dr. Young Pills.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I just had this concept of like one of the people he takes on the land with him is like his doctor that's hooking on like he's just on all these drugs to make things function.
Psychotropics and stuff like that. Psychotropic. What is it that like brain I think that's like what they call like the stuff for like you take and it makes you smarter or something, like brain drugs and stuff. Or is psychotropics like psychedelics? I don't know.
I know there's a lot of microdosing going on. That term, it's just well, I guess it is exactly what it says. It's microdose. But
the hippie commune, I'm visualizing what comes to my mind.
Well, I figure you can do a lot like in the grass too.
It makes me think about what was it with it was a Tarantino movie, with Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah,
where like they go.
That was out on Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, Spawn Ranch. When you say hippie commune, that's what I think of.
A really bad hippie commune.
Yeah, that's like what that's the.
No, I was thinking of like some place that like actually like farms their own stuff and like is decent, not the Manson family.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that'd be funny to drop them in that situation. But I'll leave you on this concept, and then you get a nice. See, I did help you out here. You can get a nice tight episode here.
Yes.
But I'll leave you on this concept. But somebody who's better at, I actually brought it up with one of the designers, and then his buddy, and they're both into video games, had a different idea, and they went on a tangent. And I was like, but that's not what I was like, that's a cool alternative, but I want to talk about mine.
Uh-huh.
But I was like, yeah, I need somebody who's better at art to do this for me. But like, it's a cassette tape, but the one spool is a record, and the other spool is a CD. So it's all three mediums in one image.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's it. Somebody may have even thought of that before.
Yeah, that's a culmination of formats. I think I'm definitely feel like in my life or real experiences.
You've used all of them, yeah.
I feel like records were like tail end of, well, I mean, like my early youth. I remember like the parents having vinyl.
Oh yeah.
And it was like The Wall. They had Purple Rain. It was like a couple of these, like it was like a few albums. There's the Chipmunks Christmas album, and we had like probably like half a dozen records underneath the television, and I don't ever remember them listening to them.
I remember record. Yeah, I definitely remember like at some point cassettes were like what was getting listened to.
Yeah.
But I remember I can picture it in my head right now, a very 80s stereo, and like it had up top it had the vinyl, and then it had two cassettes, one you could play and one you could record.
High speed dubbing.
Yeah.
then I like my first boom box. My brother had a Sony boom box, and that thing was just cassette. And it had,
I remember having. I think I had multiple. I had multiple Walkmans and I had multiple Sony just cassette boom boxes.
yeah, Sony
Like had to get. I think both of them had to be replaced at one point.
Sony always had the the jack for the headphones.
Yep.
But I remember my brother listening to his AM FM cassette Sony boombox. I remember like a distinct many occurrences of him listening to AM radio, and it was baseball.
Oh yeah, okay.
Listening to baseball on like AM radio. But my first like boombox though was a Sony, but it had a CD player. I think that happened like after the parents that like divorced or whatever, where like that Christmas my dad's girlfriend got me a bunch of CDs for Christmas. That was like, dang, she went heavy hitting on this. She got like the Smashing Pumpkins Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness album for me, and that was like a double disc, so that was like $25, and that was just like holding off on that. And that was in the era where I was still buying cassette tapes because it was cheaper.
Sure.
I did buy CDs every once in a while, but it was like that kind of was like later. But in the beginning, I remember the transition where it was almost like the decision between the two, where I was like, the tape's like $4 cheaper. It's $12.99 versus $17.99.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
$16.99. You know, it was just like, and then you get a double disc CD, and that would be like up in the 20s. And you're just going like, that's gonna blow my whole gift coupon from Christmas or whatever. You know, it's like I can only get so many things or whatever. But yeah. But I feel like the records, though, you know, that became like the way records kind of like came back up. How like, you know, for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I've messed around with records, tapes, and CDs, but it seems like I feel like tapes and CDs were like just an authentic personal experience of what was happening in culture. Where then like records, I kind of was like, I was going nostalgic, you know, I was like, I started hunting records and you know doing that. Where like I feel like youth of today, young people, they'd be going for tapes, and that would be like almost the equivalent of going for records.
I guess, is that still going on? I know a couple years ago there was like bands were dropping cassettes.
Yeah, it's still there, man. The thing is too, like doing cassette releases, it's like way cheaper and way easier to do like small runs. So like you could do CDs, but it just seems like, I don't know, like I can't say I've got numbers in my head, but like it just seems like you just cut tapes real easy. You know, and it makes it a lot more fun when there's less like head overhead, you know, I would imagine. You put out like some recordings or whatever. It's like, I think you can do a really small run of tapes and it's just not that big of a deal cost wise. So yeah, pressing records though, way more expensive. It feels like you have a lot more responsibility to not just be pressing 500 copies of something that, you know, you're just going to give away or something, you know, where like cassette tapes are kind of like...
It takes up more space in the cover art.
Yeah. I'd like to, as this space comes to fruition, doing more recordings and just like, I haven't really released or had anything like new that I put on the internet of like recordings or stuff that I've made in like years now. It seemed like for a stretch, a long time, I was doing like once a year. At least something once a year. And I was like, oh, at least I'm keeping up. Wouldn't it be neat like to be this old and to be like, I have a record from each year of my life of recordings of whatever? Like what a snapshot that would be.
Sure.
And then it's like, I don't know, I guess around like the pandemic things kind of shifted. I did like a collage of recordings, and then it's like I've been recording stuff still, but like not being able to like culminate any of it into a cohesive, you know,
Project.
bundle.
Yeah, sure.
But if I had something, it would be like, if it was something I was really like stoked about, it'd be kind of cool to like, I think you can, I don't know about US. I actually have purchased from this one like Canadian, I think it's like duplication.ca, but it's like Canadian.
Yeah.
And I've bought on a couple occasions just blank tapes from their services, but I think they do like the whole 9 yards. They do like, I almost feel like you can send them like your audio and they'll produce however many copies on CD and cassette tape, and you can order and get the artwork all done up, but you can also buy all those like raw materials for, you know, even small quantities. And I've bought like a lot of colored cassette tapes and like J cards, some jewel cases, and some of
Yeah.
these like paper sleeves. Like you remember, like a lot of singles would be in.
Yeah.
But I haven't like I was like amping up for projects in the past that just I never followed through with. Like some of them are real specific. Like oh, this album is this long. Okay, get a tape that's that long. And then I got it, and I was like, oh shit! I didn't consider the fact that if I break it in half, so it'll fit onto that tape, it may not break.
Is perfectly as
It might be
like,
breaking in the middle of a song to get that right ratio, or otherwise one side's going to be too short, and the other side, or it'll have moments of dead space, and on the other side there's not enough room because I only got it for the length of the album or the recording, or
Yeah.
all together, but not considering that transition thing. So yeah, then I was like, shoot, now what do? I'm like, oh, I can just like trim this one piece out and make it work, but I had it all figured out, like how to do the artwork. Like I feel like with the artwork, you could take and actually just like get like for color, you could do the photo print option where like people have pictures on their phone. They do one of these online orders. You upload the JPEGs and you get prints digital from your digital photos. But like you can get deals where those prints aren't that much money. If you think about a 4x6 photograph, you could probably cut that into like at least two individual things that you could like glue onto another like a J card or the cardboard sleeve, and then you could have like artwork for your tape, and it's like color, and you could probably print a lot of those. It wouldn't be that expensive, less than $20 for like a fair amount, more than you'll probably be able to give away. So like I had it all figured out, but then it's just like, and I've got cassette recorders, but I don't know, in the future, I think it would be kind of fun to, if I had a cool enough like project, put it on Bandcamp and do like a small little batch of tapes. I've seen that a lot in the recent years. It seems like, the tapes and records are just like a lot more favorable for their like tangibility and collectability. I still think CDs are cool though. I feel like it's claimed it has, but like CDs having a resurgence and like being cool again, the way like cassette tapes and records did.
I use them because I can listen to CDs in the car. That's mainly where I listen to CDs.
And like for me, it's like the easiest way to share. Like if I want to give somebody some like new music I've made, I'm like I know we all have like devices, but it's like here's a CD, and I wonder, I'm like, are the newer vehicles even equipping CD players?
I don't know. Mine's 2016, so it does have a CD.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think I've mentioned this, but I'm slowly getting, and I got some more probably since last time we talked. So coming up here, I've been jamming out to my Sparks CDs.
Yeah, I was talking with Kevin about Sparks for a little while.
A lot of my communications with Alban are either plans falling through or talking basketball and Sparks these days.
We were watching some videos.
So many good ones.
I shared
videos or performances.
There is this one song that came up on like I use Spotify, and it came up on like kind of like a radio, kind of throwing stuff at me. And the song, I think it was like something like Germany in the title, like
Girl from Germany.
Girl from Germany.
Yeah, it's an early one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like that one was just like, without knowing what was playing, all of a sudden it's like I feel like your
intuition was
like, it was like I felt like I was around the Utz factory here around Eisenhower, and I was like listening to it and just being like, yeah, this is a good one. I gotta save this one and be like, I want to tell Kevin's about this. And yeah, like I've listened to it on quite a few rotations, but
the people left you.
it's like A, I like this, and B, I know who this is, because of the sound.
Very distinct.
Yeah, very distinct.
Oh man, yeah, so much of it's good. Like, you haven't watched the documentary yet, have you?
No, Kevin was like pumping that to me. He was telling me, he was like, yeah, I should watch that.
Yeah, I'll have to have it over and we'll watch it because I want to watch it again because I've watched it. I watched it at the beginning of the year for the first time, and then I've been in a kick. Then I got the greatest hits, and that's what I was like. I'm gonna make it a goal. Like eventually, I'm gonna have them all on CD, but like I'll slow burn it. Like there's no timetable in this. So I've been slowly doing like really on a kick of the early '80s stuff right now. But yeah, there's so many eras. I'm just like. But they talk about it, like, yeah, it's like, these guys are, like, so fucking prolific, and, like, it's like, there's just so many songs where I'm like, And like some of them take a while to hit me. I'm like, no, this one's really fucking good. Like I slept on this. Like I was like, no, this song's really fucking good. And then like the lyrics will hit you in different waves too. You're like, oh shit, this is this song, like I thought it was just like a silly, like goofy, like I get what they're saying, but then like it's like, is this song deeper than I thought?
I can only imagine how much of a rabbit hole it can be to really get into a kick because of just their catalog.
I said that to Ryan, like I'm not being unironic, like that Ron Mayle, the guy with the mustache, like he might be up there for best songwriter. Like there's some really good shit.
Well, I feel like I think it was like I watched like rewatched the trailer with Kevin or something. We were kind of like, I've seen this before, but like it kind of does these like a little like montage of all these different artists just talking about like, hey, we at one point or another when you're getting down with somebody, you're talking about music, Sparks comes up basically, and I think Beck was in it.
Yeah, I think Beck says that. Yeah. He's like, yeah, if you're on tour with a group of musicians, at some point you're gonna start talking about Sparks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like they talked to a bunch of them, like, and they talk a little bit about like how artists owe things, like there's a lot of artists that owe things to them, and like, but yeah, like just the fact that like, I think I told you that one album I really like, that Number One in Heaven, like came out in like '79. It was recorded in '78, came out in '79, but it's like a very synth album, and it's like right before the synth explosion, and it's just and then. Yeah, some of that, like I said, like I'm really digging that early 80s stuff. And then like listening to like, when you hear like 80s on the radio, I'm like, I don't know. I think like the Spark songs are just so much better than these other fucking songs.
Shit, man. I feel like
even the goofy, even like, because they talk about that. They're like, and Weird Al's like, what's wrong with being funny? It's like, yeah, some of the lyrics are goofy and funny, but it's like, actually, like, there's something better about that too. Like, there's something real about the lyrics too.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like not even like the way like humor can almost be like a form of satire, where it's like you don't even, if you may not even be realizing what they're talking about, because at surface level it's saying this, but then if you actually
that's why like listen to them in the car, like just sometimes like, oh whoa, or like I catch like something I didn't catch before in the song, like oh yeah. Not to mention they're just catchy as shit.
Have you has there been any music in the recent that has gotten you like wanting to play instruments like your guitar?
I will get an
Will
urge.
Sparks give you that at all?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, just like catchy. But then catchy melodies and like certain things like.
I also feel like with the vocal delivery, that you often like the sound of the vocals typically with Spark songs. That's like another like, it's just so like ambitious, and like the way it just it pulls it off so well, and there's this authenticity where it just like, but it's very distinctive sounding.
He's got a very distinct sound, and then they talk about that in the documentary. Like one of them says that like his they're like. Yeah, his brother has gotten a lot of use out of his voice. Like he uses that like one of the instruments in the band.
Yeah, I really want to do more. I was talking with Mike about this, and I felt like basically my point I like hammered was just like wanting to do more with microphones.
Oh,
like recording and stuff with music. Like I've gone and taken my courses with electronics, and it's like I kind of like at this point have gained enough perspective with like the synthesizers and like electronic gear where it's like I like all that stuff and it's very fun, but like there's just something about the appeal that I've had for like lo-fi music, for example, that genre, like lo-fi quality of any group or artist or whatever, and anyone's like familiarity with that, like you kind of like know the tropes or the things of that, like hiss, and it sounds like simple, and or it has a little bit different than the version that's like the studio recording, or there was no studio. This is the only way that has been ever presented, but like all the just special little things that give a particular recording, a very unique character, like you hear a noise in the background, or you just, you hear it in a way that feels like you can visualize it really happening.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
So like it, like with like, I'm recording a drum machine.
Almost it's kind of like what we talked about with CGI and, Yeah, there's like certain times, like, even if like they didn't necessarily play it together in the room as a band, but if they all recorded like actually, yeah, a microphone to the instruments, like
Yeah.
there is something like tangible about listening to that, where it's like you feel you could be in the studio or in the room with them
Yeah.
playing that song, whereas like some of this electronic music is like no, it feels like it's all done especially like the auto-tune vocals on top of it. It's just like, this song 100% sounds manufactured.
Yeah, it's like this is a technique that's been really like become popularized in like the last like decade and a half. I feel like like 2000s hit, but then like they're
This has been Old Man Corner with Kevin and Brad.
well, I mean, like it kind of came in, but it's been around for a long time.
Yeah,
but
it has.
there's like I feel like uses of it where it's like it works, but then there's times where it just like is happening, and it might be a genre of music that I'm not. It just sounds like something for like women to be
Sure.
wanting to listen to loud and clubbing music, or just like energetic.
Not everything's for me, and that's fine. Yeah.
And it's like, but there's so many different, I feel like, examples of that stuff being used. And it's like, I think there's been some examples I've been like, oh, that's cool. But like I feel like in modern times, it's like, it's weird to think of that being used to such an extreme where it just sounds like, it's auto-tune. It's not even questionable.
Yeah.
But then the fact that by this point that auto-tune can also be where it takes like a natural singer's voice, and if they're a little sour, it can kind of bump it into that right range or whatever. And it's kind of weird thinking that happens. You're going like, well, I don't even want to know the albums that I've enjoyed that have singing on them that could have had auto correction, and then just spoiling it where you're just going like, oh, like I always just thought that's the way they sang it or something. But I feel like it would only go back so far. It would be like relatively
you can't go
newer
too far,
stuff,
right?
Because you go too far back and it wasn't being pulled off without you probably recognizing it. I don't know.
I don't know.
How are they doing? They wouldn't have been doing, all, pitch correction in like analog tape recording.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, I still want to mess around with my my electronic drum machine, and or like just different stuff with electronic based music production. But like it just seems like you really got to get more microphones in there, like that stuff playing through a speaker that's mic'd or something. But like having the sound of a room and all, like you can put reverb on any of those effects, room reverb or something. It's like, I feel like using reverb as an effect is always like surreal sounding. It's like rarely have I ever had the experience with.
I need a echo on it.
Not that I'm a virtuoso, but I've had like a few different options over the years, experimenting with stuff on recording programs on the computer, a couple pedals, a few effects setups or whatever, like multi-processor kind of deals. But reverb always seems like it always just feels like it's not real reverb. Even if it sounds really good, it becomes like its own thing. It's not like a familiar sounding, like I really am in a cavern. Now I'm sure there's probably units that do pull that off.
Sure.
I've never had access to it. Maybe those things are probably just you pay the price for the realism, but it seems like you won't even have to. I mean, like those things, budget range effects units are can give all kinds of paths and textures for the way your music's going to sound. But yeah, like some microphones in a room through an amp or something, or you're lucky enough to like do some guerrilla recording somewhere and get like some reverb, the ambience in like a big room or something. That one lodge in Jane's Island, I wanted to record there. I remember it was in Crisfield, the Jane's Island was a state park. They had this big cabin there.
Okay.
And we had rented it out for a couple little like birthday party.
Okay.
Several people.
Yeah, we went to that. I know which one I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the second floor of it was really big.
Well,
and open.
No, I don't know the structure you're talking about, but I think I know what park you're talking about. I think we went there though.
Yeah, we it's like kind of like off of a back road.
No, and I can now think of the structure you're probably talking about.
Well,
maybe. No, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I say, like remember, like remember that.
No,
but
I don't know.
I don't know if we I feel like that there's
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
like a minute.
Sorry.
a minute long of us just like going back and forth, like, trying to convince each other, but like humbly being like, I don't even know.
I don't think so. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, this place was like probably built like mid 20th century, 50s or 60s, but like the second floor of it was like kind of like meant for it was kind of like a lodge, but like the second floor was just this sort of big open place where they would have like, you could just picture a whole bunch of chairs set up and everyone looking forward to the room, and there'd be a projector that would pull down and someone on a podium, where they would have like talks or whatever. And but the floor is all hardwood, glossy finish. I feel there's a lot of wood, and there's like a fireplace chimney at the sort of the one side, but it was so reflective, and I was just like, I wanted to record so bad there, but there's just a bunch of kids there, and it just wasn't practical. I'll be like, it's not like I want to go and set up microphone. That would have been cool too, honestly, if I just would have done it, but I just it's like I talked myself out. I was going to take a whole bunch of equipment and record music there, thinking there's going to be a little bit of time for me to do that. But it was like, as the event came closer, I realized like there isn't going to be any time for that. Like everyone's going to be there.
I know. Every now and again, you get this idea like I can steal like a little bit of, and then reality sets in.
I was like, why did I fool myself for so long thinking I was going to do this? Where it's like I got disappointed because I was like I couldn't do it, but I was like, I don't think it was ever a practical concept. But it was just like, oh, who knows what this could sound like if I have some room mics set up, throw up a drum kit. I might as well take some other gear. And I had this like, I was going to take a whole setup, but
but then the practicality of like, what I want to do is like its own thing. Like I can't just squeeze it into this other.
Yeah. I was like discouraged by all the work it was going to take to like take all my shit down and lug it there and set it all up and then get probably not even a day.
Yeah, right. And then is it going to be worth it?
And then I'm like, I don't want anybody messing with it, so you're going to tear it down immediately when you're done. And
right.
It's like, But if I had access to a space, I keep on wanting to. You're familiar with When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
The drums in the beginning of that, it's like they were recorded the recording. They were like the drum kit was at like I guess the bottom of a stairwell, and then there was just like one or two like special microphones at the top of it, and I think a little bit of studio magic like a tape echo machine and some compression, but that drum sound being just so fucking cool sounding and big or whatever, and that the idea of those being recorded in that way, which wouldn't be conventional, normally studio albums have the drums recorded in a studio,
right?
So when they go and do some like different location where it's like a castle or some just residence, the idea of capturing like that stairwell, it's not like, oh, I'll just do it in my stairwell and it'll sound just like When the Levee Breaks. It's like, I know it's not that easy, but like it's like any stairwell could potentially.
But thinking about like or just a place that could give a unique.
I've got a stairwell, but I don't know how radical the sound's going to splash around in it. Right. But I bet in my mind, like that, the stairwell used in When the Levee Breaks, it would have been a little bit more cool looking or something, like some spiral staircase,
probably some big English home, old,
half like castle like or something.
But it's always half a castle.
But it could have been in a very, I don't know, I haven't seen photographs, but it'd be like, I also wouldn't be surprised if it was just in a smaller conventional looking stairwell, and it was just like, it was just the echo and the compression that made it sound way big. Well, I feel like my voice is probably starting to give out. I don't know, or like I'm.
Well, I knew time-wise we had a lot.
What do you think we got?
I think we got 2 hours at least.
Yeah, 2 hours and 3 minutes 34. Well, I'm gonna edit, so
that's gonna be cut out.
Yeah.
But no, that's why I kind of gave you. I'll leave you on this